Welcome to Advanced Con Ed 2-Hour Oklahoma 2015 Fuel Gas Code Update Part 1. Welcome to Advanced Con Ed's presentation of the significant changes to the 2015 International Fuel Gas Code with the State of Oklahoma Uniform Building Code Commission's amendments and modifications. Introduction. Welcome, and thank you for selecting Advanced Con Ed to provide the continuing education you need to fulfill your licensing requirements. At Advanced Con Ed, we strive to present you with the most up-to-date codes and relevant safety information to keep you both technically current and safe on the job. This presentation provides you with the significant changes to the ICC's 2015 International Fuel Gas Code presented in black text, with a discussion of the ICC's changes and the Oklahoma Uniform Building Code Commission's amendments and modifications, presented in blue text. And now, Advanced Con Ed is proud to present the significant changes to the 2015 International Fuel Gas Code with the State of Oklahoma Uniform Building Code Commission's amendments and modifications. Section 202, Definitions. 202, Definitions. Third-party certification agency. An approved agency operating a product or material certification system that incorporates initial testing, assessment, and surveillance of a manufacturer's quality control system. Third-party certified. Certification obtained by the manufacturer indicating that the function and performance characteristics of a product or material have been determined by testing and ongoing surveillance by an approved third-party certification agency. Assertion of certification is in the form of identification in accordance with the requirements of the third-party certification agency. Third-party tested. Procedures by which an approved testing laboratory provides documentation that a product, material, or system conforms to specified requirements. Section 304.1, Combustion air for appliances with power burners. 304.1, Combustion air for appliances with power burners. Air for combustion, ventilation, and dilution of flue gases for appliances installed in buildings shall be provided by application of one of the methods prescribed in sections 304.5 through 304.9. Where the requirements of section 304.5 are not met, outdoor air shall be introduced in accordance with one of the methods prescribed in sections 304.6 through 304.9. Direct vent appliances, gas appliances of other than natural draft design, vented gas appliances not designated as Category 1, and appliances equipped with power burners shall be provided with combustion, ventilation, and dilution air in accordance with the appliance manufacturer's instructions. Exception. Type 1 clothes dryers that are provided with makeup air in accordance with section 614.5. Section 304.1, Combustion air for appliances with power burners, continued. Discussion. Section 304.1 states that the methods of providing combustion air as prescribed in section 304.5 through 304.9 are applicable only to natural draft appliances with draft hoods and fan-assisted appliances. Other types of appliances, including direct vent appliances, power vented appliances, and categories 2, 3, and 4 appliances, must be provided with combustion air per the appliance manufacturer's instructions. Another type of appliance has been added to the types that are subject only to the requirements in the manufacturer's instructions. Appliances equipped with power burners. Power burners pull in combustion air under fan power and mix it with a fuel gas before conveying it to the burner. Section 304.1, Combustion air for appliances with power burners. Continued. Discussion. Continued. The methods in Section 304.5 through 304.9 were based on the physics of natural draft, fan-assisted, and Category 1 appliances, and therefore failed to account for the nature of powered systems like power burners. The manufacturer's instructions for large input power burner appliances specify the size of combustion air openings by their own methods. Typically, these methods result in much smaller openings than prescribed in the code. However, some manufacturers simply refer back to the code instead of offering their own method. Section 304.1, Combustion air for appliances with power burners. Continued. Please review the following diagram at your own rate. Section 306.6, Guards. 306.6, Guards. Guards shall be provided where various components that require service are located on a roof or elevated structure and have a condition as set forth in Section 306.6.1 through 306.6.3. The top of the guard shall be located not less than 42 inches above the elevated surface adjacent to the guard. The guard shall be constructed so as to prevent the passage of a 21-inch diameter sphere and shall comply with the loading requirements for guards specified in the International Building Code. Guards shall be provided at new components when added or replaced on an existing roof or elevated surface and have a condition as set forth in sections 306.6.1 through 306.6.3. Exception. When approved by the authority having jurisdiction, guards are not required where permanent fall arrest restraint anchor connector devices that comply with ANSI/ASSE Z359.1 are affixed for use during the entire roof covering lifetime. The devices shall be re-evaluated for possible replacement when the entire roof covering is replaced. The devices shall be placed not more than 10 feet on center along hip and ridge lines and placed not less than 10 feet from the roof edges and open sides of walking surfaces. Section 306.6.1, Roof Edge Guards. 306.6.1, Roof Edge Guards. Guards complying with 306.1 shall be provided when components are located within 10 feet of a roof edge or open side of a walking surface or elevated structure and such edge or open side is located more than 30 inches above the floor, roof, or grade below. The guard shall extend not less than 30 inches beyond each end of the component that requires service. Section 306.6.2 Skylight Guards. 306.6.2 Skylight Guards. Guards complying with Section 306.6 shall be provided when a skylight is within 10 feet of the component that requires service. The guard shall extend 30 inches beyond the edge of the skylight. Exceptions. Guards are not required when the skylight is located at least 42 inches above the highest point of the walking surface adjacent to the skylight or component. B. Guards are not required if some other provision for skylight fall-through protection is provided and approved by the authority having jurisdiction. Section 306.6.3 Roof Hatch Guards. 306.6.3 Roof Hatch Guards. Guards complying with Section 306.6 shall be provided when a roof hatch is within 10 feet of the component that requires service. The guard shall extend 30 inches beyond the edge of the roof hatch. If the component is within 10 feet of the ladder access side of the roof hatch, the guard shall incorporate a self-closing, self-latching gate. The gate shall have a top edge of not less than 42 inches above the elevated surface adjacent to the gate and shall not allow the passage of a 21-inch sphere. If a roof hatch exists within 10 feet of a roof edge that is located more than 30 inches above the floor, roof, or grade below, and a new component that requires service on that existing roof or elevated structure, then a guard complying with Section 306.6 shall be added between the existing roof hatch and the roof edge. Section 307.2.1 Condensate Drains. 307.2.1 Condensate Drains. Where condensing appliances are in locations subject to freezing conditions, the condensate drain line shall be protected from freezing in an approved manner and in accordance with the manufacturer's installation instructions. Section 307.6 Condensate Pumps. 307.6 Condensate Pumps. Condensate pumps located in uninhabitable spaces, such as attics and crawl spaces, shall be connected to the appliance or equipment served such that when the pump fails, the appliance or equipment will be prevented from operating. Pumps shall be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Section 307.6 Condensate Pumps continued. Discussion. Condensate pumps are often located in attics and crawl spaces and above ceilings where they are not readily observable. If they fail, the condensate overflow can cause structural damage to the building, especially where the overflow will not be noticed immediately. The majority of such pumps are equipped with simple float controls that can be wired in series with the appliance or equipment circuit control. When the pump system fails, the float will rise in the reservoir and open a switch before the condensate starts to overflow the reservoir. These float controls are commonly not connected, or the pump might not be equipped with an overflow switch. This new code section requires the installation of condensate pumps that have this overflow shutoff capability and requires that the appliance or equipment served be connected to take advantage of that feature. Section 307.6 Condensate Pumps Continued. Please review the presented diagram at your own rate. Section 308.1 Clearance to Combustible Materials. 308.1 Scope. This section shall govern the reduction in required clearances to combustible materials, including gypsum board and combustible assemblies for chimneys, vents, appliances, devices, and equipment. Clearance requirements for air conditioning equipment and central heating boilers and furnaces shall comply with sections 308.3 and 308.4. Section 308.1 Clearance to Combustible Materials Continued. Discussion. Gypsum board, also known as drywall, is often incorrectly thought to be a non-combustible material. Because of this misunderstanding, the proper clearance to gypsum board required by certain appliances has not been maintained. The code now states that gypsum board is to be addressed in a manner consistent with any other combustible material. Section 308.1 Clearance to Combustible Materials Continued. Please review the following diagram at your own rate. Section 310.1.1 Corrugated Stainless Steel Gas Piping Systems. 310.1.1 Corrugated Stainless Steel Gas Piping Systems. Corrugated stainless steel, or CSST, gas piping systems and piping systems containing one or more segments of CSST shall be bonded to the electrical service grounding electrode system or, where provided, the lightning protection grounding electrode system. Exception: corrugated stainless steel gas piping or tubing products or systems that have been designed, manufactured, and listed for installation without bonding to the grounding electrode system shall be permitted to be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's installation instructions. Sections 310.1.1.1, 310.1.1.2, and 310.1.1.3. Electrical bonding of corrugated stainless steel tubing. 310.1.1.1 Bonding jumper length. The length of the bonding jumper between the connection to a gas piping system and the connection to a grounding electrode system shall not exceed 75 feet. Any additional grounding electrodes used shall be bonded to the electrical service grounding electrode system. 310.1.1.2 Bonding Connections. Bonding connections shall be in accordance with NFPA 70. 310.1.1.3 Connection Devices. Devices used for making the bonding connection shall be listed for the application in accordance with UL 467. Sections 310.1.1.1, 310.1.1.2, and 310.1.1.3. Electrical bonding of corrugated stainless steel tubing. Continued. Discussion. Extensive testing was performed by the CSST industry to determine how well the bonding protects the CSST from indirect lightning strikes and lightning-induced currents. The testing concluded that the bonding jumper was functionally adequate up to approximately 100 feet and preventing arcing, thus suggesting the need for a length limit. A length limit of 75 feet was chosen to provide a safety factor. Bonding the CSST to an independent grounding electrode is prohibited. If supplemental electrodes are installed, the code requires that they be bonded back to the electrical service grounding electrode system consistent with NFPA 70 requirements for a common grounding electrode system. The points of connection to the electrical service grounding electrode system, the methods of connection, and the protection of the bonding conductors must be in accordance with NFPA 70. The devices, such as clamps, that are used to connect the bonding jumper on both ends must be listed for the application and environment in which they are installed. Sections 310.1.1.1, 310.1.1.2, and 310.1.1.3. Electrical bonding of corrugated stainless steel tubing. Continued. Please review the following diagram at your own rate. Sections 401.1, 401.9, and 401.10. Identification, testing, and certification. 401.1. Installation of materials. All materials used shall be in strict accordance with the standards under which the materials are accepted and approved. In the absence of such, installation instructions shall be followed. Where the requirements of reference standards or manufacturer's installation instructions do not conform to the minimum provisions of this code, the provisions of this code shall apply. 401.9. Identification. Each length of pipe and tubing and each pipe fitting utilized in a fuel gas system shall bear the identification of the manufacturer. 401.10. Third-party testing and certification. All piping, tubing, and fittings shall comply with the applicable reference standards, specifications, and performance criteria of this code and shall be identified in accordance with sections 401.9. Piping, tubing, and fittings shall either be tested by an approved third-party testing agency or certified by an approved third-party certification agency. Sections 401.1, 401.9, and 401.10. Identification, testing, and certification. Continued. Discussion. Each section of pipe, tubing, and each fitting in a gas piping system must bear the identification of the manufacturer. This is the industry method of verifying that the pipe and fittings comply with the standards recognized in the code. Provisions have also been added to provide guidance on third-party certification. Section 402.2, Maximum gas demand for pipe sizing. 402.2, Maximum gas demand for pipe sizing. The volumetric flow rate of gas to be provided shall be the sum of the maximum input of the appliances served. The total connected hourly load shall be used as the basis for pipe sizing, assuming that all appliances could be operating at full capacity simultaneously. Where a diversity of load can be established, pipe sizing shall be permitted to be based on such loads. The volumetric flow rate of gas to be provided shall be adjusted for altitude where the installation is above 2,000 feet in elevation. Section 402.2, Maximum gas demand for pipe sizing. Continued. Discussion. Table 402.2 in previous editions of the code provided estimates as a placeholder in the piping system design, and the design would have to be verified after the true loads were known. This process introduced the risk that the estimate table could be relied upon solely, and the piping system might be undersized in some cases. It was felt that such design guidance tables belonged in a handbook rather than in a code, and that such guidance tables could easily be misused. It is safer to never introduce an estimated load in the first place. Designers could use estimated loads if they needed to, but the code should not condone the practice. Also, it is difficult for such a table to accurately represent the many different appliances in the marketplace. Section 402.2, Maximum gas demand for pipe sizing. Continued. Please review the following diagram at your own rate. Section 403.6, Plastic pipe, tubing, and fittings. 403.6, Plastic pipe, tubing, and fittings. Polyethylene plastic pipe, tubing, and fittings used to supply fuel gas shall conform to ASTM D2513. Such pipe shall be marked gas and ASTM D2513. Plastic pipe, tubing, and fittings other than polyethylene shall be identified and conform to the 2008 edition of ASTM D2513. Such pipe shall be marked gas and ASTM D2513. Polyvinyl chloride, PVC, and chlorinated polyvinyl chloride, CPVC, plastic pipe, tubing, and fittings shall not be used to supply fuel gas. Section 403.6, Plastic pipe, tubing, and fittings. Continued. Discussion. The code now references the 2013 edition of ASTM D2513, which has been revised to address polyethylene plastic pipe, tubing, and fittings only, whereas the 2008 edition addressed all plastic materials. The code had to maintain a reference to the 2008 edition of the standard in order to address plastic other than PE, such as polyamide. It was determined that polyamide pipe is currently used to supply fuel gas. However, CPVC and PVC are not. Further, it was decided that because of the brittle nature of PVC and CPVC, especially at low temperatures, these materials are not suitable for conveying fuel gas. Rather than being silent, the code now prohibits what the marketplace has failed to embrace as a viable material for fuel gas. Section 403.6 Plastic Pipe, Tubing, and Fittings. Continued. Please review the following illustration at your own rate. Section 403.10.4 Drilled and Tapped Metallic Pipe Fittings. 403.10.4 Metallic Fittings. Metallic fittings shall comply with the following. 1. Threaded fittings in sizes larger than 4 inches shall not be used except where approved. 2. Fittings used with steel or wrought iron pipe shall be steel, copper alloy, malleable iron, or cast iron. 3. Fittings used with copper or copper alloy pipe shall be copper or copper alloy. 4. Fittings used with aluminum alloy pipe shall be of aluminum alloy. 5. Cast iron fittings. 5.1. Flanges shall be permitted. 5.2. Bushings shall not be used. 5.3. Fittings shall not be used in any system containing flammable gas-air mixtures. Section 403.10.4 Drilled and Tapped Metallic Pipe Fittings. Continued. 5.4. Fittings in sizes 4 inches and larger shall not be used indoors except where approved. 5.5. Fittings in sizes 6 inches and larger shall not be used except where approved. 6. Aluminum alloy fittings. Threads shall not form the joint seal. 7. Zinc aluminum alloy fittings. Fittings shall not be used in systems containing flammable gas-air mixtures. 8. Special fittings. Fittings such as couplings, proprietary type joints, saddle tees, gland type compression fittings, and flared, flareless, or compression type tubing fittings shall be used within the fitting manufacturer's pressure temperature recommendations. Used within the service conditions anticipated with respect to vibration, fatigue, thermal expansion, or contraction. Installed or braced to prevent separation of the joint by gas pressure or external physical damage, and shall be approved. Section 403.10.5 404.10.4 Drilled and tapped metallic pipe fittings. Continued. Discussion. Occasionally, an installer will drill a hole in a Schedule 40 or heavier pipe fitting and tap threads in the hole for the purpose of making a test connection or branch connection. The pipe fittings were never designed to be drilled and tapped. The resulting pipe connection or plugged opening would not have sufficient threads to make a tight joint that is both strong and free of leakage, and rely solely on the thread sealant paste or tape to effect a seal. Field drilling and tapping of outdoor fittings on the outlet side of a meter is performed by some gas utilities. The 5 conditions in the new text limit field drilling and tapping of outdoor fittings to gas utility personnel and authorized contractors. The practice is limited to outdoor fittings, and the entire operation must be performed with specialized tools and equipment in accordance with the prescribed procedures. The drilling and tapping of pipe fittings is prohibited in all cases except where performed in accordance with all 5 conditions that are intended to mitigate the risk. Section 403.10.4 Drilled and tapped metallic pipe fittings. Continued. Discussion. Occasionally, an installer will drill a hole in a Schedule 40 or heavier pipe fitting and tap threads in the hole for the purpose of making a test connection or branch connection. The pipe fittings were never designed to be drilled and tapped. The resulting pipe connection or plugged opening would not have sufficient threads to make a tight joint that is both strong and free of leakage, and rely solely on the thread sealant paste or tape to effect a seal. Field drilling and tapping of outdoor fittings on the outlet side of a meter is performed by some gas utilities. The 5 conditions in the new text limit field drilling and tapping of outdoor fittings to gas utility personnel and authorized contractors. The practice is limited to outdoor fittings, and the entire operation must be performed with specialized tools and equipment in accordance with the prescribed procedures. The drilling and tapping of pipe fittings is prohibited in all cases except where performed in accordance with all 5 conditions that are intended to mitigate the risk. Section 404.2 CSST Piping Systems. 404.2 CSST. CSST piping systems shall be installed in accordance with the terms of their approval, the conditions of listing, the manufacturer's installation instructions, and this code. Discussion. CSST gas piping systems are listed to an ANSI standard and, like other equipment and appliances, are now required to be installed in accordance with the terms of their approval, the conditions of the listing, and the manufacturer's installation instructions. Section 404.2 CSST Piping Systems. Continued. Please review the following diagram at your own rate. Section 404.5 Fittings in Concealed Locations. 404.5 Fittings in Concealed Locations. Fittings installed in concealed locations shall be limited to the following types. 1. Threaded elbows, tees, and couplings. 2. Brazed fittings. 3. Welded fittings. 4. fittings listed to American National Standards Institute LC1/CSA 6.26 or American National Standards Institute LC4. Section 404.5 Fittings in Concealed Locations. Continued. Discussion. Rather than listing what is prohibited and having exceptions, the text has been reformatted to state what is allowed in concealed locations. The new text lists 4 types of allowed fittings: threaded elbows, tees, and couplings, brazed fittings, welded fittings, and proprietary fittings listed to ANSI LC1 or LC4. By omission, all other types of fittings are prohibited in concealed locations. In previous editions of the code, this section has caused interpretation difficulties, and the new text simply clarifies what has always been the intent. In future editions of the code, Item 1 will likely be revised to add threaded plugs and caps, as this was revised in ANSI standards. When the code refers to couplings, these fittings are tapered thread couplings, not straight thread couplings that are commonly found. See section 403.9. Section 404.5 Fittings in Concealed Locations. Continued. Please review the following diagram at your own rate. Section 404.7 Protection of Concealed Piping Against Physical Damage. 404.7 Protection Against Physical Damage. Where piping will be concealed within light frame construction assemblies, the piping shall be protected against penetration by fasteners in accordance with Section 404.7.1 through 404.7.3. Exception. Black steel piping and galvanized steel piping shall not be required to be protected. Section 404.7 Protection of Concealed Piping Against Physical Damage. Continued. 404.7.1 Piping through bored holes or notches. Where piping is installed through holes or notches in framing members, and the piping is located less than 1.5 inches from the framing member face to which wall, ceiling, or floor members will be attached, the piping shall be protected by shield plates that cover the width of the pipe and framing member and that extend not less than 4 inches to each side of the framing member. Where the framing member that the piping passes through is a bottom plate, bottom track, top plate, or top track, the shield plates shall cover the framing member and extend not less than 4 inches above the bottom framing member and not less than 4 inches below the top framing member. Section 404.7 Protection of Concealed Piping Against Physical Damage. Continued. 404.7.2 Piping installed in other locations. Where the piping is located within a framing member and is less than 1.5 inches from the framing member's face to which wall, ceiling, or floor membranes will be attached, the piping shall be protected by shield plates that cover the width and length of the piping. Where the piping is located outside a framing member and is located less than 1.5 inches from the nearest edge of the face of the framing member to which the membranes will be attached, the piping shall be protected by shield plates that cover the width and length of the piping. 404.7.3 Shield plates. Shield plates shall be of steel material having a thickness of not less than 0.0575 inch, number 16 gauge. Section 404.7 Protection of concealed piping against physical damage, continued. Discussion. Piping and tubing other than Schedule 40 steel pipe must be protected from penetration by nails and screws where the pipe or tubing is less than 1.5 inches from the face of the member where membranes will be attached. This protection is necessary whether the pipe or tube is perpendicular or parallel to the framing member. Extending the protection shield 4 inches beyond the edges of the framing member is intended to protect against fasteners that miss the member or that exit the member on an angle. To avoid having protection plates run parallel with a member, the installer could simply place the pipe or tube on standoffs such that the pipe or tube is not less than 1.5 inches from the nearest edge of the face or member. The careful installation and routing of gas piping or tubing can avoid the need for installation of protection plates by simply relying on a distance of at least 1.5 inches between the pipe or tube and the fastener face of the member. Section 404.7 Protection of concealed piping against physical damage, continued. Please review the following diagram at your own rate. Section 404.12 Minimum Burial Depth. 404.12 Minimum Burial Depth. Underground piping systems shall be installed a minimum depth of 18 inches below grade, except as provided for in Section 404.10.1. Exception. Where a minimum depth of cover cannot be provided, the pipe shall be installed in conduit or bridged, shielded. Section 404.18 Pipe Cleaning. 404.18 Pipe Cleaning. The use of a flammable or combustible gas to clean or remove debris from a piping system shall be prohibited. Section 404.18 Pipe Cleaning, continued. Discussion. Recent accidents resulting in explosions, injuries, and property damage have been attributed to a procedure where new gas piping systems have been flushed with high-pressure fuel gas for the purpose of pushing contaminants, debris, welding slag, and tools from the piping. Even under very well supervised conditions, this procedure has significant risks. Alternatives include using non-flammable gases and/or mechanical devices, or PIGs, that are pulled through the piping, creating a sweeping effect. It was determined that using flammable gases for this purpose is inherently unsafe and therefore should be prohibited. Section 406.7 has been rewritten to mitigate the related hazards associated with the purging of gases from fuel gas pipeline. Section 404.18 Prohibited Devices. 404.18 Prohibited Devices. A device shall not be placed inside the piping or fittings that will reduce the cross-sectional area or otherwise obstruct the free flow of gas. Exceptions: 1. Approved gas filters. 2. An approved fitting or device where the gas piping system has been sized to accommodate the pressure drop of the fitting or device. Section 404.18 Prohibited Devices continued. Discussion: Devices such as excess flow valves and earthquake valves are considered restrictions in gas piping systems and generally are prohibited from being installed in gas piping and fittings. It has now been clarified that if the gas piping system has been sized to accommodate a fitting or device placed in the gas piping system, the fitting or device is allowed to be installed. Section 408.4 Sediment Traps. 408.4 Sediment Trap. Where a sediment trap is not incorporated as part of the appliance, a sediment trap shall be installed downstream of the appliance shutoff valve as close to the inlet of the appliance as practical. The sediment trap shall be either a T-fitting having a capped nipple of any length installed vertically in the bottommost opening of the T as illustrated in figure 408.4, or other device approved as an effective sediment trap. Illuminating appliances, ranges, clothes dryers, decorative vented appliances for installation in vented fireplaces, gas fireplaces, and outdoor grills need not be so equipped. Section 408.4 Sediment Traps continued. Discussion: Because of misunderstandings as to how a sediment trap is to be constructed, an illustration has been added to the code text to clarify the intended installation method. In addition, decorative vented gas appliances and gas fireplaces are no longer required to be installed with a sediment trap. Although these appliances are susceptible to harm from debris, they are also manually operated. Therefore, the user would be in attendance and aware of any problems. Section 408.4 Sediment Traps continued. Please review the following diagram at your own rate. Section 410.2 Medium Pressure Regulators. 410.2 MP Regulators. MP pressure regulators shall comply with the following. 1. The MP regulator shall be approved and shall be suitable for the inlet and outlet gas pressures for the application. 2. The MP regulator shall maintain a reduced outlet pressure under lockup or no-flow conditions. 3. The capacity of the MP regulator, determined by published ratings of its manufacturer, shall be adequate to supply the appliances served. 4. The MP pressure regulator shall be provided with access. Where located indoors, the regulator shall be vented to the outdoors or shall be equipped with a leak limiting device. In either case, complying with Section 410.3. Section 410.2 Medium Pressure Regulators continued. 5. A T-fitting with one opening capped or plugged shall be installed between the MP regulator and its upstream shutoff valve. Such T-fitting shall be positioned to allow connection of a pressure measuring instrument and to serve as a sediment trap. 6. A T-fitting with one opening capped or plugged shall be installed not less than 10 pipe diameters downstream of the MP regulator outlet. Such T-fitting shall be positioned to allow connection of a pressure measuring instrument. 7. Where connected to rigid piping, a union shall be installed within 1 foot of either side of the MP regulator. Section 410.2 Medium Pressure Regulators continued. Discussion. MP regulators are line pressure regulators that serve to reduce pressures that are above 0.5 psi and less than or equal to 5 psi to some lower pressure. They are typically installed in 2 psi and 5 psi gas distribution systems that serve appliances having a maximum input pressure of 0.5 psi. If such regulators are installed with steel piping on the inlet and outlet side, the regulators cannot be removed or isolated without disassembly of the piping system for some distance or cutting the piping. To facilitate the removal or isolation of the regulator, a union fitting must be placed near the inlet or outlet side of the regulator. This is simply a common sense provision. Section 410.2 Medium Pressure Regulators continued. Please review the following diagram at your own rate. Section 410.4 Excess Flow Valves. 410.4 Excess Flow Valves. Where automatic excess flow valves are installed, they shall be listed for the application and shall be sized and installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Section 410.4 Excess Flow Valves continued. Discussion. Excess flow valves are now required to be listed. In order not to cause pressure drops in the gas piping system, the excess flow valve must also be sized and installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Section 410.4 Excess Flow Valves. Please review the following diagram at your own rate. Section 202 and 410.5 Flashback Arrestor Check Valve. 202 Definitions. Flashback Arrestor Check Valve, a device that will prevent the backflow of one gas into the supply system of another gas and prevent passage of flame into the gas supply system. 410.5 Flashback Arrestor Check Valve. Where fuel gas is used with oxygen in any hot work operation, a listed protected device that serves as a combination flashback arrestor and backflow check valve shall be installed at an approved location on both the fuel gas and oxygen supply lines. Where the pressure of the piped fuel gas supply is insufficient to ensure such safe operation, Approved equipment shall be installed between the gas meter and the appliance that increases pressure to the level required for such safe operation. Section 202 and 410.5 Flashback Arrestor Check Valve continued. Discussion. To prevent flashbacks from occurring and prevent oxygen from getting into the fuel gas supply system, fuel gas systems that are used with oxygen are now required to have flashback arrestor and backflow check valve on the gas supply line and the oxygen supply line. Section 202 and 410.5 Flashback Arrestor Check Valve continued. Please review the following diagrams at your own rate. Section 411.1 Connecting Portable Outlet Appliances. 411.1 Connecting Appliances. Except as required by Section 411.1.1, appliances shall be connected to the piping system by one of the following. 1. Rigid metallic pipe and fittings. 2. Corrugated stainless steel tubing were installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. 3. Semi-rigid metallic tubing and metallic fittings. Length shall not exceed 6 feet and shall be located entirely in the same room as the appliance. Semi-rigid metallic tubing shall not enter a motor-operated appliance through an unprotected knockout opening. 4. Listed and labeled appliance connectors in compliance with ANSI Z21.24 and installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions and located entirely in the same room as the appliance. Section 411.1 Connecting Portable Outdoor Appliances continued. 5. Listed and labeled quick disconnect devices used in conjunction with listed and labeled appliance connectors. 6. Listed and labeled convenience outlets used in conjunction with listed and labeled appliance connectors. 7. Listed and labeled outdoor appliance connectors in compliance with ANSI Z21.75 CSA 6.27 and installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. 8. Listed outdoor gas hose connections in compliance with ANSI Z21.54 used to connect portable outdoor appliances. The gas hose connection shall be made only in the outdoor area where the appliance is to be used and shall be to the gas piping supply at an appliance shutoff valve, a listed quick disconnect device, or listed gas convenience outlet. Section 411.1 Connecting Portable Outdoor Appliances continued. Discussion. Because portable appliances can be moved, methods 1 through 7 of this section are not suited for connecting portable appliances to the gas distribution piping system. For outdoor portable appliances, new method 8 is the only apparent option. Outdoor gas hose connectors have to be resistant to mechanical damage, possible heat exposure, and the harmful effects of exposure to weather. Connectors listed to ANSI Z21.54 are evaluated and tested for the particularly harsh environment of outdoor use. The gas hose connector must be located entirely outdoors and must be connected to the gas piping system at a point outdoors. The point of connection to the gas distribution system piping must be through a listed device that allows the hose to be readily manually disconnected or through an appliance shutoff valve. The intent of new item 8 is to address portable outdoor appliance connections and to mandate that such connectors be listed to a specific safety standard. Section 411.1 Connecting Portable Outdoor Appliances continued. Please review the following diagrams at your own rate. Section 411.1.1 Connectors for Commercial Cooking Appliances. 411.1.1 Commercial Cooking Appliances. Commercial cooking appliances installed on casters and appliances that are moved for cleaning and sanitation purposes shall be connected to the piping system with an appliance connector listed as complying with ANSI Z21.69. The commercial cooking appliance connector installation shall be configured in accordance with the manufacturer's installation instructions. Movement of appliances with casters shall be limited by a restraining device installed in accordance with the connector and appliance manufacturer's instructions. Section 411.1.1 Connectors for Commercial Cooking Appliances continued. Discussion. Commercial cooking appliances that are on casters or can be moved periodically must be connected to the gas supply with connectors that are listed to ANSI Z21.69. Rigid piping and semi-rigid metal tubing, copper or aluminum, are no longer allowed to connect appliances that are moved for cleaning and maintenance purposes. The ANSI Z21.69 connectors permit a modest amount of movement when properly configured to allow low-stress flexing. Where the connector is installed properly, the appliance movement must be limited to prevent the connector from being stressed beyond its range of tolerance. This is accomplished with a cable tether that prevents the appliance from being moved too far. The new text in this section has been added to address the problem of those connectors being abused. The connection manufacturer's installation instructions must be strictly followed. Section 411.1.1 Connectors for Commercial Cooking Appliances continued. Please review the following diagram at your own rate. Section 502.7.1 Door Clearance to Vent Terminals. 502.7.1 Door Swing. Appliance and equipment vent terminals shall be located such that doors cannot swing within 12 inches horizontally of the vent terminal. Door stops or closers shall not be installed to obtain this clearance. Section 502.7.1 Door Clearance to Vent Terminals continued. Discussion. Vent terminals for sidewall vented appliances such as direct vent gas fireplaces and fireplace heaters, direct vent room heaters, direct vent water heaters, furnaces and boilers, and also non-direct vent appliances are sometimes located where the swing of a door can impact the vent terminal or swing too close to the terminal. The result can be damage to the vent terminal, a fire hazard, and interference with the appliance venting and combustion air intake. A damaged vent terminal could cause appliance malfunction and carbon monoxide poisoning. It could also cause damage to nearby combustible surfaces and create a fire hazard. Door stops and closer devices cannot be depended on because they are easily defeated or removed. Section 502.7.1 Door clearance to vent terminals continued. Please review the following diagram at your own rate. Section 503.4.1 Plastic piping for appliance vents. 503.4.1 Plastic piping. Where plastic piping is used to vent an appliance, the appliance shall be listed for use with such venting materials, and the appliance manufacturer's installation instructions shall identify the specific plastic piping material. Section 503.4.1 Plastic piping for appliance vents continued. Discussion. The appliance manufacturer's installation instructions must clearly specify exactly what plastic materials are required or allowed for venting an appliance. The appliance manufacturer determines the type of plastic vent that is suitable for venting its product, and the testing and listing agency tests the appliance with that venting system for compliance with the product standards. The definition of vent does not include plastic pipe such as PVC, ABS, or CPVC because such pipes are not currently listed as factory-built venting systems. Section 503.4.1 refers to plastic pipe as a material used for venting. It is not referenced as to a vent conforming to the definition. The PVC, ABS, and CPVC pipe manufacturers do not recommend that their pipe be used for appliance venting because such products are not currently listed for such applications. There are polypropylene venting systems on the market that are listed to UL 1738 as appliance venting systems, and they would fall under the definition of vent. Section 503.4.1 Plastic piping for appliance vents continued. Please review the following diagram at your own rate. Section 503.6.9.3 Sizing of plastic pipe vents. 503.6.9.3 Category 2, 3, and 4 appliances. The sizing of gas vents for Category 2, 3, and 4 appliances shall be in accordance with the appliance manufacturer's instructions. the sizing of plastic pipe that is specified by the appliance manufacturer as a venting material for Category 2, 3, and 4 appliances shall be in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Section 503.6.9.3 Sizing of plastic pipe vents continued. Discussion. Because plastic pipes such as PVC, ABS, and CPVC plumbing pipes are not listed and labeled as appliance vents, the code was silent on how to size such pipes. The sizing is covered in the appliance manufacturer's instructions, and the code requires compliance with such instructions. However, for consistency, this section has been modified to address both listed vents and unlisted materials used as vents. For example, PVC pipe that vents a Category 4 furnace is not listed as a vent, rather it is a material that is used as a vent, and the appliance is listed for use with the PVC pipe. Section 503.6.9.3 Sizing of plastic pipe vents continued. Please review the following diagram at your own rate. Chapter 6 Specific Appliances. IFGC Chapter 6 Specific Appliances. Revoked. IFGC 2015 Appendices. None of the appendices of the IFGC 2015 have been adopted by the OUBCC for inclusion in the statewide minimum code for commercial fuel gas construction in the state of Oklahoma. Appendices A through D are not adopted as the statewide minimum code for commercial fuel gas construction within the state of Oklahoma. However, other jurisdictions within the state of Oklahoma may adopt any or all of said appendices in accordance with 59 Oklahoma Statute, Section 1000.29. Conclusion. Thank you for selecting Advanced Con Ed to provide the continuing education credits you need to fulfill your licensing requirements. We hope you found this presentation helpful to make you a better tradesman. This presentation is available to you anytime in the event you need to reference it in the future. Again, thank you for reviewing Advanced Con Ed's presentation of the significant changes to the 2015 International Fuel Gas Code with the State of Oklahoma Uniform Building Code Commission's amendments and modifications.